Good morning, everybody. Welcome to ABRJC Nemakuru family. Second year zoology, class 3. We are discussing about the breathing and exchange of gases. Breathing and exchange of gases. In that chapter, we have already discussed about the introductory part and the human respiratory system, structural aspects. What are the parts involved in the human respiratory system? We discussed already in the previous class. Now, in this class, we are going to discuss about the process of respiration. That means, what are the steps involved in respiration? Steps involved in respiration. Observe carefully. Number 1, breathing. It is also called pulmonary ventilation. Breathing, also called pulmonary ventilation. What will happen in this step actually? By which atmospheric air with 21% of oxygen is drawn in and alveolar air rich in carbon dioxide is sent out. Simply, the atmospheric air enter into the lungs and alveolar air rich in carbon dioxide is sent out. That is the first step in respiration. Next, diffusion of gases. Diffusion of gases at lung level, actually at lung level, at tissue level. First, at lung level. That means across the alveolar membrane. That means oxygen diffuses into the capillary network. At the same time, carbon dioxide diffuses into the alveoli. The gaseous exchange in between alveoli and the capillary network. That is the diffusion of gases at lung level. And next, transportation of gases. Transportation of gases. Transportation of gases, that means respiratory gases. What are the respiratory gases actually? Oxygen and carbon dioxide. So how they are transported? Through the blood circulation, for example, by blood between the lungs and tissue cells. Between the lungs and tissue cells. From lungs to tissue cells, oxygen is transported through blood circulation in the form of oxyhemoglobin. Okay. From tissues to the lungs, carbon dioxide is transported. That is about transportation of gases. That is the third step. And then diffusion of gases at a tissue level. That means at a tissue level, between the blood and the systemic, between the blood in the systemic capillaries and the tissues. And from the blood in the systemic capillaries, oxygen diffuses into the cells. At the same time, carbon dioxide from the tissues diffuses into the blood. That is the diffusion of gases at a tissue level. Number 5, utilization. This is, we can say that it is cellular respiration. That is the ultimate purpose of the respiration. That is the utilization means by the cells for catabolic reactions and resultant production of H2O and ATP. The food materials, the food substances oxidized, that is cellular respiration. End products are H2O and energy, actually energy. In that energy, heat and ATP are there. Okay, these are the steps involved in respiration. Next, mechanism of breathing. First step, taking first step, breathing. Mechanism of breathing. mechanism of breathing involves two stages such as inhalation or inspiration. Inspiration is also called inhalation. And expiration or exhalation. Breathing involves two stages such as inspiration or inhalation. Number two, expiration or exhalation. Okay. Movement of air into and out of the lungs is carried by creating a pressure gradient between the lungs and the atmosphere. The pressure gradient, that is the main reason. The air into and out of the lungs, for that the main reason is by creating a pressure gradient between the lungs and the atmosphere. And there is a difference in the pressure of the air which is present in the lungs and the atmospheric pressure. Okay, inspiration. What is inspiration or inhalation? What is inspiration or inhalation? Intake of atmospheric air into the lungs is called inspiration. It is an active process. Why is it called active process? Intake of atmospheric air into the lungs is called inspiration. It is an active process. Why? Why? As the muscles use energy for contraction. As the muscles use energy for their contraction, so that it is an active process. Okay. It takes place by the contraction of phrenic muscles of the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles. The muscles which are present in the diaphragm are called phrenic muscles. The muscles which are present in between the ribs are called external intercostal muscles and internal intercostal muscles. Okay. Because of the contraction of, see this picture, because of the contraction of phrenic muscles of diaphragm, the thoracic cavity increases the thoracic cavity in antero-posterior axis. Because of the contraction of phrenic muscles of the diaphragm, the thoracic cavity, in the previous class I have already told that the outer pleural membrane is very close to the thoracic lining. The inner pleural membrane is close to the lung. So, at the same time, one more thing, lungs occupies major portion in our thoracic cavity. If there is any change in the volume of thoracic cavity, automatically it reflects the volume of lung, pulmonary volume, lung volume. So, because of the contraction of phrenic muscles of the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles, because of the contraction of phrenic muscles of the diaphragm, the thoracic cavity enlarges, slightly enlarges. It increases the thoracic cavity in antero-posterior to the lungs. That is about inspiration or inhalation. And now expiration. What is expiration? Release of alveolar air to the exterior is called expiration. Release of alveolar air to the exterior is called expiration. It is a passive process. Energy is not utilized in this process. That means passive process means just that phrenic muscles and external intercostal muscles are relaxed, so that no need of energy here, no utilization of energy. So it is a passive process. On an average, a healthy human breathes 12 to 16 times per minute. The ability to increase the strength of inspiration and expiration with the help of additional muscles in the abdomen. The contraction of the internal intercostal muscles and the lateral abdominal muscles helps in forces expiration. At the time of forcible expiration, internal intercostal muscles and the lateral abdominal muscles helps in forces expiration. See this picture. Diaphragm relaxed and arched upwards, and ribs and sternum return to original position. Automatically, the volume of thoracic is decreased. Volume of thorax decreased. So pressure is increased. So automatically the air is expelled from lungs. This is the flow chart. Observe here, observe carefully. Relaxation of diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles, because of that, returns the diaphragm and sternum to their normal positions. So it reduces the thoracic volume and pulmonary volume. It leads to an increase in the intrapulmonary pressure to slightly above that of the atmospheric pressure. Automatically, the expulsion of air from the lungs occur. Okay. Next, spirometer. Spirometer is an instrument used. The volume of air involved in breathing movements can be estimated by spirometer. The volume of the air involved in breathing movements can be estimated by spirometer. Spirometer helps in clinical assessment of the pulmonary functions. It helps in clinical assessment of the pulmonary functions. Next, respiratory volumes and capacities. Respiratory volumes and capacities. Respiratory volumes are pulmonary volumes or lung volumes. Similarly, respiratory capacities, pulmonary capacities, lung capacities. Okay. Under normal conditions, the average adult takes 12 to 15 breaths a minute. What is a breath? A breath is one complete inspiration and one expiration. A breath is one complete inspiration and one expiration. An instrument called a spirometer is used to measure the volume of air that moves into and out of the lungs. Okay. To know the respiratory volumes and the respiratory capacities are very important to know the physical condition of the lungs and also helps in the particularly respiratory capacities helps in diagnosis of several different respiratory disorders, diseases. Respiratory volumes are an important aspect of pulmonary function testing because they can provide information about the physical condition of the lungs. Okay, respiratory capacity or pulmonary capacity is the sum of two or more volumes, respiratory volumes. Okay. Now we will discuss about the respiratory volumes. There are four types of respiratory volumes. Number one, tidal volume. Tidal volume, TV, simply abbreviated as TV, tidal volume. Volume of air moved into or out of the lungs during normal breathing. That means normal breathing means at rest. Normal breathing means at rest. The volume of air moved into or out of the lungs during normal breathing. it is approximately 500 ml of air, 500 ml. Okay. A healthy man can inhale or exhale approximately 6,000 to 8,000 ml of air per minute. Okay, next, IRV means inspiratory reserve volume. Inspiratory reserve volume. The maximum volume of air that can be inhaled during forced breathing. The maximum volume of air that can be inhaled during forced breathing, in addition to the TB. TB means, already we discussed what is tidal volume. During normal breathing, the volume of air moved into or out of the lungs during normal breathing. That is called tidal volume. So IRV means inspiratory reserve volume means the maximum volume of air that can be inhaled during forced breathing, in addition to the TB. This is about 2,500 ml to 3,000 ml. And next, ERV means expiratory reserve volume. What is expiratory reserve volume? Maximum volume of air that can be exhaled. IRV means maximum volume of air that can be inhaled. But expiratory reserve volume means maximum volume of air that can be exhaled during forced breathing, in addition to the TB. This is about 1000 ml to 1100 ml. Next, RV. RV means residual volume. That means remaining, residual. The volume of air remaining in the lungs even after forcible expiration. That is called residual volume. The volume of air remaining in the lungs even after forcible expiration. That is called RV, or residual volume. This is about 1100 ml to 1200 ml. And next, respiratory capacities. Respiratory capacities are useful in clinical diagnosis of pulmonary disorders. Already I told about that respiratory capacities. What is the importance of respiratory capacities? Respiratory capacities are useful in clinical diagnosis of pulmonary disorders. Number one, IC. Inspiratory capacity. IC means inspiratory capacity. The total volume of air a person can inhale after normal expiration. That means after TB. Normal tidal volume, TB. The total volume of air a person can inhale after normal expiration. That is called inspiratory capacity. So inspiratory capacity is TB plus IRV. Inspiratory capacity is equal to TB plus tidal volume plus inspiratory respiratory volume. This is about 3000 ml to 3500 ml. And next, EC. It is not mentioned in your textbook actually. EC, expiratory capacity. Expiratory capacity. That means the total volume of air a person can exhale after normal inspiration. The total volume of air a person can inhale after normal expiration is called inspiratory capacity. But the total volume of air a person can exhale after normal inspiration is called expiratory capacity. So expiratory capacity is equal to tidal volume plus expiratory respiratory volume. Okay, this is about 1600 ml of air. Next, FRC. FRC means functional residual capacity. What is functional residual capacity? The volume of air that remains in the lungs after normal expiration is called functional residual capacity. And after normal expiration also, in our lungs, some air is present. That is called functional residual capacity. The volume of air that remains in the lungs after normal expiration, that is called FRC. So FRC is equal to ERV plus RV. The normal value of FRC is 1800 ml to 2200 ml. And next, VC, vital capacity. Vital capacity. The maximum volume of air a person can breathe in after forced expiration. The maximum volume of air a person can breathe in after forced expiration. So VC is equal to ERV plus TV plus IRV. And next, VC are the maximum volume of air a person can breathe in after forced expiration, or the maximum volume of air a person can breathe out. The maximum volume of air a person can breathe out after forced inspiration is also called VC. So VC is equal to TV plus IRV plus ERV, or VC is equal to ERV plus TV plus IRV. So TLC. TLC means total lung capacity. Total lung capacity. The total volume of air accommodated in the lungs at the end of forced inspiration. The total volume of air accommodated in the lungs at the end of forced inspiration. So TLC is equal to RV plus vital capacity. Total lung capacity is equal to RV plus vital capacity. Next, R. TLC is equal to ERV plus IRV plus tidal volume plus RV. Okay. Next, exchange of gases. As I told earlier, site 1, alveoli. Exchange of gases, site 1, alveoli. Alveoli are the primary sites of exchange of gases in the lungs. These are the primary sites. Okay, site 2, between blood and tissues. First site 1, alveoli. Alveoli are the primary sites of exchange of gases in the lungs. Site 2, between blood and tissues. Okay. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged in these sites by the process called diffusion. Simple diffusion. Factors that affect the rate of diffusion. There are certain factors that affect the rate of diffusion. Number 1, partial pressure or concentration gradient of gases. And number 2, second factor is solubility of gases. And third factor, thickness of the respiratory membrane. And next, surface area. And next, distance of diffusion. These are the factors that can affect the rate of diffusion. Okay, partial pressure. What is partial pressure? What is the partial pressure of an individual gas? The partial pressure, the pressure contributed by an individual gas in a mixture of gases is its partial pressure. We all know that air is the mixture of gases: nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, argon, and other some gases, water vapor. It is a mixture of gases. Our air is a mixture of gases, in that several components: nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, like that. So partial pressure, we can calculate the partial pressure of an individual gas also. The pressure contributed by an individual gas in a mixture of gases is called its partial pressure. The partial pressure of oxygen, PO2, the partial pressure of oxygen, CO2, PO2. Similarly, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, PCO2. The PO2 indicates the partial pressure of oxygen in a mixture of gases, and similarly, PCO2 indicates the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. And next, at different parts involved in diffusion in comparison to those in the atmospheric air. In we are taking only two gases, respiratory gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, what about the partial pressure of oxygen in atmospheric air, and what about the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in atmospheric air? Observe here carefully, there is a mistake. In atmospheric air, the partial pressure of O2 is equal to 159 millimeters of mercury. 159 millimeters of mercury, mmHg. 159, not 15. Okay. And then the partial pressure of CO2 is about just 0.3 mm of mercury, mmHg. And what about the partial pressure of O2 and CO2 in alveolar air? Alveolar air. In your textbook, it is mentioned as in alveoli. It is mentioned as in your second year zoology textbook. There is a table. In that table, it is mentioned in alveoli. Moreover, that in bracket deoxygenated, that is not correct. In alveolar air is correct. In alveolar air, the partial pressure of O2 is 104 mmHg. And what about the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in alveolar air, not alveoli, deoxygenated? That is not correct. In alveolar air is correct. In alveolar air, the partial pressure of O2 is 104 mmHg and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is 40 mmHg. And next, in the blood, deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood means in the systemic veins. In the systemic veins, deoxygenated blood means in the systemic veins. What about the partial pressure of O2? Just 40 mm of Hg. And partial pressure of CO2 is 45 mg Hg, because it is deoxygenated blood. The partial pressure of carbon dioxide is higher than the partial pressure of oxygen in the deoxygenated blood, that means in systemic veins. And what about the oxygenated blood? What about the partial pressures of O2 and CO2 in the oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood means the blood in the systemic arteries. The blood in the systemic arteries, that is called oxygenated blood. In that oxygenated blood, the partial pressure of oxygen is about 95 mm of Hg, and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is just 40 mm of Hg. Okay, because it is oxygenated blood in the systemic arteries. And what about the tissues? What about the tissues? The partial pressure of O2 and CO2. The partial pressure of O2, that means PO2, is equal to 40 mm of Hg, and PCO2 is about 45 mm of it, because of the cellular respiration, catabolic processes. More carbon dioxide is released because of the cellular respiration, so that the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is higher than the partial pressure of O2 in tissues. Next, the amount of CO2 that can diffuse through the diffusion membrane per unit difference in partial pressure is much higher compared to that of O2. What is the reason behind that? This is due to the solubility of carbon dioxide is 20 to 25 times higher than the O2. The solubility of carbon dioxide is 20 to 25 times higher than that of O2. So that the amount of carbon dioxide that can diffuse through the diffusion membrane per unit difference in partial pressure is much higher compared to that of O2. Okay, diffusion membrane. In the previous class also I have explained how is it formed. Diffusion membrane is made up of actually three major layers. Number one, thin simple squamous epithelium of alveolar wall, that 99, that 99, that is mistake. Thin simple squamous epithelium of alveolar wall. And number two, the endothelium of the alveolar capillaries. The wall of the blood capillary is also made up of simple squamous epithelium, that is called endothelium. The wall of the alveolar wall is also made up of simple squamous epithelium, single cell thick. Both are single cell thick. The wall of the alveoli and the wall of the blood capillary made up of simple squamous epithelium. They are single cell thick. And then basement membrane. Basement membrane, actually epithelial tissue, it is the important characteristic features, one of the important characteristic features of epithelial tissues, presence of basement membrane. So these three, number one, alveolar wall, and number two, endothelium of alveolar capillaries, and in between these two actually basement membrane constitute the diffusion membrane. Okay, diffusion membrane is a thin border and favorable for diffusion of gases. Favorable for diffusion of gases. Observe this picture. A section of alveolus with a pulmonary capillary. The section of alveolus with a pulmonary capillary. Observe those red arrow marks. Oxygen diffuses. First, identify the parts. Identify the parts. Next, capillary walls, alveolar walls. That capillary wall and alveolar wall, in between these two basement membrane constitute diffusion membrane or respiratory membrane. Next, now you can observe oxygen diffuses into the red blood cells. Oxygen, and from the alveolar air, oxygen diffuses into the red blood cells. At the same time, carbon dioxide diffuses into the alveolus. Carbon dioxide diffuses into the alveolus. In the alveolar, that is because of, in the alveolar air, the partial pressure of oxygen is more, PO2 is more, so that oxygen automatically diffuses into the capillary network. In the capillary network, the partial pressure of oxygen is low than that of the partial pressure of O2 in the alveolar air. At the same time, similarly, in the capillary network, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is more than that of the alveolar air. So that automatically in reverse direction, that carbon dioxide diffuses into the alveolar cavities, and then it is sent out. That blood to the alveolar capillary network from the pulmonary artery. That means it is deoxygenated blood. After oxygenation of blood, that means completely bright red colored RBC are there. That means oxygenation of blood. Due to that bright red colored RBC are there in that capillary to the pulmonary vein, and then it is carried to the heart. And next, in this diagram, you can observe both sides, diffusion sides. Diagrammatic representation of exchange of gases at the alveolus and the body fluids with blood and transportation of oxygen and CO2. We can observe the transportation of oxygen and CO2. Observe carefully that diagram. Inspired air, that means inhaled air, that means alveolar air. What are the partial pressures of, you see that what are the partial pressures of oxygen and CO2 in alveolar air? 104 mm Hg PO2, 40 mm Hg CO2. Automatically what will happen? The oxygen enter into the capillary network, pulmonary vein, that is carried to the heart. From that, then from that heart, the systemic arteries carrying oxygen blood, carrying oxygenated blood through systemic arteries to the tissues. What will happen at the tissues? What are the partial pressures at the tissues? These both gases. At the tissues, the partial in the blood carrying through systemic arteries, the partial pressure of oxygen is 95 mm Hg and PCO2 is just 40 mm Hg. Because of that, from systemic arteries, that capillary arteries, arterioles and capillaries, ends with capillaries. From those capillaries, the oxygen diffuses into the tissues. At the same time, in tissues, what are the partial pressures of O2 and carbon dioxide? Partial pressure of O2 is just 40 mm Hg and partial pressure of CO2 is 45 mm Hg. That is because of cellular respiration and catabolic processes, automatically the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is a little bit high than the partial pressure of oxygen in the tissue. So that carbon dioxide diffuses to systemic veins, that means capillaries and venules, and then veins, carrying deoxygenated blood through these systemic veins to the heart, and then it is carried to the lungs for purification. We can say that for oxygenation. And this is about the sites involved in diffusion: site 1 alveoli and site 2 tissues, and how the exchange of gases takes place. Why? What is the reason behind that? The partial pressures of indifference in between the partial pressures of O2 and CO2 at different levels. Site 1 at alveoli and site 2 at tissues. That is because of the diffusion or exchange of gases through simple diffusion. The main reason is difference in the partial pressures of oxygen and CO2. Okay. In the next class, we will discuss about the transportation of gases. In the next class, we will discuss about the transportation of gases, respiratory gases, how the oxygen carried to the tissues, from lungs through blood circulation in the form of oxyhemoglobin, of course, in dissolved condition in plasma also. We will discuss in detail in the next class. At the same time, how the carbon dioxide is transported to the lungs from the tissues, in how many ways that carbon dioxide carried to the lungs from the tissues. All these things are to be discussed in the next class. Okay, thank you.